Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Manachari. Yamuna Tira Manachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Padavitaka Ashtotar to the Shishimada Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Padavitaka Ashtotar to the Shishimada Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So they're okay? Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 24th day of September 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 6 entitled Dhyana Yoga. Text 31 at the bottom of page 283. You got it? Huh. Perfect. 283. He knows. Okay, here we go. Sarvabhuta stitham yomam bhajate kattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhuta stitham yomam bhajate kattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhuta stitham yomam bhajate kattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhutastitang yo mam bhajatyekattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhutastitang yo mam bhajatyekattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhutastitang yo mam bhajatyekattvamastitaha sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mahivartate. Sarvabhutastitam, situated in everyone's heart. Yaha, he who, mam, me, bhajati, serves in devotional service. Ekatvam, in oneness, astitaha, situated, sarvata, in all respects, vartamanaha, being situated, api, in spite of, saha, he, yogi, the transcendentalist, mahi, in me, vartate, remains. Translation. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. Purport. A yogi who is practicing meditation on the Supersoul sees within himself the plenary portion of Krishna as Vishnu, with 4 hands, holding conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. The yogi should know that Vishnu is not different from Krishna. Krishna, in this form of Supersoul, is situated in everyone's heart. Furthermore, there is no difference between the innumerable Supersouls present in the innumerable hearts of living entities. Nor is there a difference between a Krishna-conscious person always engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna and a perfect yogi engaged in meditation on the Supersoul. The yogi in Krishna consciousness, even though he may be engaged in various activities while in material existence, remains always situated in Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12187 of Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikalashup yavastasu jivan mukta sauchyate. A devotee of the Lord, always acting in Krishna consciousness, is automatically liberated. In the Narada Pancharatra, this is confirmed in this way. Dikkalad anabachinne Krishne cheto vidhayacha tanmayo bhavati chipram jivo brahmani yojiyet. By concentrating one's attention on the transcendental form of Krishna, who is all-pervading and beyond time and space, one becomes absorbed in thinking of Krishna and then attains the happy state of transcendental association with him. Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of trance in yoga practice. This very understanding that Krishna is present as Paramatma in everyone's heart makes the yogi faultless. The Vedas, the Gopal Tapani Upanishad 121, confirm this inconceivable potency of the Lord as follows. Eko pisan bahuda yo vibhati. Although the Lord is one, he is present in innumerable hearts as many. Similarly, in the Smriti Shastra, Matsya Puran, it is said, Eka eva paro Vishnu, sarva vyapi nasangshayaha, aishwaryad rupamekang cha, suryavat bahudeyate. Vishnu is one, and yet he is certainly all-pervading. By his inconceivable potency, in spite of his one form, he is present everywhere, as the sun appears in many places at once. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this section of the 6th chapter is dealing with how one sees, back in text 29, it started in 29, when Krishna says, a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So, as always in this chapter, Srila Prabhupada, he brings in Krishna consciousness as the ultimate yoga process. That the yogi who is practicing and meditating and finally thinking of me within his heart and controlling the mind, all of these different elements, ultimately culminates in Krishna consciousness. And indeed, there is a corresponding state of being, a state of consciousness in Krishna consciousness with every state in the yogi's consciousness. The main difference is that Krishna consciousness is actually practical for us. It's practical for us. But the absorption of the mind is meant to be just as intense and all-encompassing, ultimately, in Krishna consciousness as in this Ashtanga yoga process. So, the first thing is that Prabhupada is explaining here that the Supersoul in the heart is non-different from Krishna. And indeed, the Supersoul is an expansion of Krishna, plenary expansion. And what's quite amazing is that the Supersoul is identical in every one of our hearts and in every atom. And in this way, if one sees that way, and he acts according to the tenets of the Bhagavad Gita, you begin to see everything as divine, which it is. And Krishna says, Daivi yeshu gunamayi mama maya dorotaya, that this material energy, this divine energy of mine, known as Maya, composed of the three modes of nature, is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders to me can easily cross beyond it. So, it's divine because it's connected to Krishna. When we separate it from Krishna, it becomes mundane to us. It's an illusion. But it's a very powerful illusion. We can go on for many lifetimes in that illusion. So this process of yoga, which means first connecting our consciousness to Krishna through whatever means we have. In the case of the Ashtanga yogi, he's directly working on the mind and the breath. It's all a very inward, individual process. You know, he begins to go to a solitary place, go alone, complete celibacy, and breathe this way, sit this way, direct your mind this way, all your attention. So it's very kind of mechanical, but the end result is meant to be the highest happiness, which includes bhakti. This is very nicely described in more detail by Kapila Muni in the latter part of the third canto. Did you skip to that, right? But there's quite a few chapters. So he gets to the point of describing meditation to his mother, and he's describing the Supersoul in the heart. But they're very nectarian verses and a beautiful description, of the lotus feet, of which the rays emanating from the lotus toenails are destroying the accumulated mountain-like sin in the heart of the devotee. And then you go up gradually up the form of the Lord in the heart. And then you come to the face, the beautiful face. And then the smile of the Lord. And ultimately, one should meditate on the laughter of Lord Vishnu. Now this is not ordinary meditation. It's ultimately culminating in bhakti. And so that chapter unifies the practice of meditation and the process of bhakti more than any other, these chapters of Kapila Muni. So here Krishna is doing the same thing. And as we'll see in the next verse, he's also explaining how one sees the Lord in everyone and tries as best to awaken everyone's Krishna consciousness. Because, as we'll see in the next verse, there's an empathy that grows, that becomes very prominent in the real yogi. Because he sees, he or she is experiencing this highest happiness, peace, in contact with the Lord, seeing the divine everywhere. And yet, when you see ordinary people, they're struggling without that consciousness. They're in mundane consciousness. They're trying to exploit the energy of the Lord. And therefore they're suffering. That's the root of the suffering. So naturally, real devotee says, well, let me try to help these people. Let me try to, give them what I've been given, so that their suffering can be relieved, and not only now, but in all future births. It's truly the most valuable medicine that can be gotten. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is said to be like a medicine. I was hearing a lecture today, and Prabhupada was describing the very beginning of the 10th canto. Just see the scene. Parikshita has been sitting there for maybe 5 or 6 days. No eating, no sleeping, no drinking, no nothing, just listening to Shukadeva Goswami. And now he's got through 9 cantos, and so now he says, and the 9th canto ends with the appearance of, or a kind of a summary explanation of how they come into the Yadu dynasty. And this beautiful verse, like the second to last verse in the 9th canto, describes the beautiful face of Krishna. Yasyananam makrakunda charukarnam bhrajat kapola subhaghang subalasahasam nityotsavam datatapurdishabhiba banjo nayo narasta mudita kupita namescha. So describing Krishna's walking and being in Vrindavan. This is through the 9th canto. It's full of all kinds of adventures. There's a summary of Ram Leela there, all kinds of things. And now, if you read the Bhagavatam, there are certain parts that really talk about the genealogy. So-and-so, there's so many sons coming down this way. And finally you come down and Krishna and Balaram are about to appear in the Yadu dynasty, So then, kind of jumping the gun a little bit, he says, and in Vrindavan, this is how the people, they see Krishna's face. Yasyananam makadakundala charukarna, with the beautiful shark-shaped earrings, swinging on the ears and reflecting on the cheeks. Makadakundala charukarna, Brajat Kapola means beautifying and shining on the cheeks. Subhagang Subalasahasam, and with a very playful smile. This is all on the lotus face. Yes, Braj Subhagang Subalasahasam Nityotsavam. This face of Krishna as he wanders in Vrindavan is an eternal festival of joy for the residents as they gaze upon it. Natatubur, they're never satiated by seeing that face, and there's always, he's coming, he's going, and then they're in separation, and they're always thinking of the face. Drishabhi Pabantyo, they drink in the beauty. The gopis especially, they're drinking in. At the end of the chapter 15, which is about the killing of Dhenukasura, have you familiar with that yet? You should read Krishna book. There was a donkey demon. These are all great yogis. Talk about yoga. This is how you get deviated. You get deviated by the powers, and then you can become demonic. But you still have those yogic powers. So shape-shifting. They're all shape-shifters. Whether it's the horse demon, the snake demon, Agasura. So this is a donkey demon. And he had a bunch of associates who were also donkeys. So they took over this one forest called the Talavan. The tala trees, it's a fruit. It's a very nice fruit. So Krishna's wandering in the forest with his friends, and they're hungry, and they smell the fragrance of these ripe fruits. They're not being picked because everyone's afraid to go in there because of these powerful demons. They say, no, they're saying, Krishna, don't you smell the fragrance from here? We're very hungry. Please go get the fruits. You and Balaram are the most powerful. So they laugh and they go forward. In this particular chapter, Balaram is featured. And they go in. Krishna's praising Balaram. So Balaram goes in first. And the first thing he does is shake a tree, and all of the fruits come down. What an offense to the donkey demon who's staked out this area. This is my turf, right? So he comes up, Balaram, whinny, braying, horrible sound. And so what did the donkeys do? He turns his back to Balaram, which in itself is an offense, and then strikes him on the chest, which is like a soup, and then he runs off, braying, thinking he conquered him. So Balaram, he always has this quality that it takes him a kind of a step to get into the mood, to kind of come out of his reverie, or maybe he's drinking a little Varuni beverage or something. And so he takes the blow, and sometimes it's like an elephant would be hit by a flower garland. In other words, it didn't really hurt him. So the donkey looks back, he says, oh, Balaram's still standing, so he comes running again, turns around, strikes, thrusts his hind legs, but Balaram catches him, starts swinging him around powerfully, kills him that way, and then throws him into the top of a big tala tree. And the tala tree starts swinging and swaying and knocking other tala trees down, and finally the whole thing breaks and it comes down, a big crash. Then Krishna joins him, and there's all these other donkey demons come, and they start, avenging the death of their friend, and of course they're all killed in the same way. So after all of this excitement, as usual, the boys come heading back, to the home base there in Braja, the town, and they're singing the glories of Krishna. And as they come into the town, the gopis come out of their homes in a body to greet Krishna. They've been watching in the evening. There's a nice poem just about the coming back. There's an eight-verse poem about Rupa Goswami. You have it, I think I gave it to you. And finally, they come back, and their hearts are beating faster. They hear the flute. First, they look. They have the thing on the top of the house where that I think in the sailing villages in Massachusetts in the old days, they would build a crow's nest or something. What do they call it on the top? Widow's Walk. Yeah, where they die in the sea. But they go up to see, has the boat come back? Has the boat come back? So they have the same thing. Oh, look, there's there's all the dust from the cows. Krishna's coming. Can you hear it? There's the flute, That's the flute. So they're all excited. And then they run out of the houses. And there's this beautiful verse, Pitvam, this is the one I was been working up to, where they're drinking in the beauty of Krishna's face. So, Pitvam mukunda mukasagara makshi bringais tapam duhuvada hajamba yoshi yat sat kutim samadhigammi bhavesha gosam yat kridahasa vinayat didapanga moksha. Something like that. So, Pitva means drinking. What are they drinking? Mukunda mukasaragam akshi bringais. The thick, with their bee-like eyes, the honey-bee-like eyes, the gopis are drinking the thick honey-like beauty of Krishna's face. And in this way, they're giving up the pain of separation the burning pain of separation that they experience during the day. And as he comes into the town, he casts those sidelong glances, and they greet him with these shy smiles and all these things. And that's he regards it as a completely satisfying offering. Just they're greeting him with their glances and the side smiles. That's one verse like that. So back to that other verse. So they're never satiated by drinking that beauty, and then they say, "Natataburja babanjo drinking." Nayo narasta, not just the ladies, but the men too. All the residents. Nayo narasta mudita kupita namescha. And this is a classic thing. It comes up in the Bhagavad several times, where they rail against Brahma for creating eyelids that block their vision of Krishna's face even for a split second. Illustrating how eager they are to see. Oh, that we would be so eager to see the deity's face, right? I mean, it's Krishna there, Anyway. So, how do they get into that? This is what happens on Kadashi. I'm sorry. So where were we? So, having, that vision of Krishna within and without, one floats along and it's the highest happiness. This is several verses now we've been hearing that. Atyantam sukham ashnute. This is text 28. That's experiencing the highest happiness. Those verses from 20 to 23 certainly describe that. What were the words here? Sukham atyantikam, the same words in 20 to 23 on page 275. Sukham atyantikam means the highest happiness. Again and again he's saying the same thing. So that highest happiness is not mediated by the material energy. It's directly the soul contacting Krishna. And that means that it doesn't depend on any material situation. Old, young, hot, cold, wherever you are in the world, Krishna's all pervading. If you know how to contact Krishna, you can experience that highest happiness. So naturally, it's overflowing and you want to give it. Prabhupada was burning with the desire to give what he was experiencing. All of the great preachers are like that. And, it can be simply, giving the holy name, giving the book, giving the prasadam, in whatever form of Krishna's form people are ready to take, you want to give it. And especially if they're ready to hear and understand how to practice so that they can experience it themselves. So that's what is going on here. And the basic point here is that he's everywhere. Meditation, maybe engaged in various activities, he remains always situated in Krishna. So to be, so pure and so concentrated in your bhajan, so that whatever you're doing, you always have that remembrance of Krishna. You see everything in terms of Krishna. And one very important point is that a devotee association means really relating through the Supersoul. In other words, this is the oneness. This is what draws us all together. The external doesn't matter. It's the fact that we're trying to be Krishna conscious. We want to hear about Krishna. We're serving Krishna together. This is all mediated by the fact that we're relating to the Supersoul. The Supersoul is giving us the intelligence by which we can serve Him in all of these different ways. So this is the great value of bhakti, is that it thrives in association. Whereas this yoga, you can see, you got to go alone, and so it's much too hard, not practical. But the end result, we can learn a lot about the end result of bhakti by studying this chapter. And the next verse is also important in terms of empathy for others. Okay, any discussion on these points? Got a little far afield. Text 32. Atma pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yojana sukham vayati bhadukkam sayogi paramo mataha. So this is the perfect supreme yogi now. What does he say? He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Purport: one who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. That's a nice, memorable sentence right there. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. You may not recognize that, but Prabhupada is quoting a verse here. The verse of the previous chapter, since we all have books, 529. We turn really quickly. This is Prabhupada's famous, he dubbed it the peace formula, because ultimate peace and happiness go together. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifice and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material misery. So Prabhupada is quoting that verse here. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschan me priyakrittama. Bhagavad Gita 1869. Now, let's turn to that verse, and I have a confession to make. Yeah, based on this verse. 1869. That's almost at the very end of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's on page 708 in this edition. So, now, you have to go back one verse. Hare Krishna. Do you want to know what to do with that? Ace, show him where. I'll repeat what I'm saying here. How is she full? Is she okay now? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyway, what this is saying here in text 68 is, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. 69. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Okay, I'll read this. So, That's actually text 68. These are two famous verses. So he's winding up, and he's explaining to Arjun about the glories of the Bhagavad Gita, how confidential it is, and so forth. And in 68 he says, "For one who explains the supreme secret of the Bhagavad Gita to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end it will come back to me." That's why I've been giving this class for 30 years. Actually, before I started in Miami in 1983. Well, like, so, but I would give it anyway. And then the next verse, which is the one Prabhupada quotes, "There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear." Now it's understood that any devotee who's trying to give Krishna consciousness to others is in this category. And that's the essence of the Sankirtan movement. It starts with one's own experience of Krishna. And then, because of that, you want to give it to others. And this verse, Atmau Pamyena Sarvatra, in other words, there's perfect empathy. Is that because you've suffered, in your material, you know what that's like, and you know what happiness is, you appeal to others. What do you need? Oh, careful. Oh, the feet. Careful. Did you want to use the bathroom? Okay, it's right around the corner. We're okay. Just keep going. Help him. I'll help him. You can hold the other hand. We're going to have this very nice lady named Ace. She's going to hold your other hand, okay? And and she'll take you to the bathroom. You can wash there and do what you need to do. There you go. And you just follow them. There's a bathroom, the men's room there. The United States doesn't take care. Hare Krishna. Okay. Oh my God. So, the devotee always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way factually is a friend of everyone. Okay. The perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious. He's the best philanthropist in the world, and he's the dearest servitor of the Lord. And then he quotes this verse, Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschan me kriya kritama. In other words, the devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. So that's a lesson here. And that's why Bhagavad Gita ultimately does not stress dhyana yoga. Prabhupada makes the point, I forget where, at the end of the 12th chapter, I think, in the purport, that the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is in the middle 6 chapters, which start in the next chapter, the 7th chapter. And it culminates, the teaching culminates in the 12th chapter, which is all about bhakti yoga. Then there's more elaboration in the 13, 14, 15, 17, 18. He goes over some things that he's dealt with before and explores more like the modes of nature and so forth. But the Bhagavad Gita, at the beginning, middle, and end, is really about bhakti. It's like a yoga ladder. You start with, who am I, the soul, then you talk karma yoga, how do you act in such a way that you're not entangled. And then you add knowledge, there's jnana that's adding, and sacrifice, and how to live in this world without incurring sin. And gradually you come to the point of meditation, which is introduced actually in the previous chapter. And this is all about meditation, absorption in Krishna. And then we'll begin in the 7th chapter with Krishna's explanation of how you can practice Krishna consciousness even in this world. Okay. Thanks, Ace. Hare Krishna. You too. Hare Krishna. I'm not recording that they're hearing. Only in the barbaric United States would these two people be wandering on the street. If they were in the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, no. They would have a place, they would be taken care of. Isn't it? It's just insane. It's insane. All right, let's read a little bit from the Upadeshamrita. We're starting the second verse finally. Third verse. All about the positive, what to do. Okay. Now, you don't have this, so I'll just read the Sanskrit myself. Okay. We are now reading from the Nectar of Instruction, the Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, beginning verse number 3. Utsaha nishchayat dharyat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasidhyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1. Being enthusiastic. 2. Endeavoring with confidence. 3. Being patient. 4. Acting according to regular principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. In other words, hearing, chanting and remembering Krishna, serving Him, worshipping the lotus feet, praying, bowing down, becoming the friend, surrendering everything. 5. Abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. I'm going to read this translation again for you. We're starting in text 3 of the Upadeshamrita, which you have in your device. And we did the Sanskrit, so I'll just read the English again. You can hear it. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1. Being enthusiastic. 2. Endeavoring with confidence. 3. Being patient. 4. Acting according to regular principles such as hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. 5. Abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Purport. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, has defined devotional service as follows. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Okay. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma janapratam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma, impersonal jnana, and all such other selfish desires. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Kind of appropriate, we're just reading that. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Sri Prahlad Maharaj recommends Shravanam, I'll say you say, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. The nine processes of devotional service are as follows. 1. Hearing the name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chanting His glories. 3. Remembering the Lord. 4. Serving the Lord's lotus feet. 5. Worshipping the deity. 6. Offering obeisances unto the Lord. 7. Acting as the Lord's servant. 8. Making friends with the Lord. 9. Surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. Now, I have to comment on one before we go on. Offering obeisances unto the Lord. This is called vandanam. But vandanam also means praying. Now, I once did a little seminar on vandanam in Chicago. And by reading some of the prayers in the Bhagavatam, such as Kunti's prayers, Prahlad's prayers, I realized there's 3 elements to vandanam, generally. There's certainly bowing down. That's often at the beginning. Like Kunti says, Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Pakateparam. I bow down to you, the original personality, who are beyond the matter, and so forth. And then there's glorification of the Lord. And then there's a prayer. There's a request of some kind. So you have those 3. All 3 together form this vandanam. So that's a very important aspect of devotional service. Then acting as the Lord's servant, making friends with the Lord, and ultimately surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. Number 9. Shravanam, or hearing, is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach the proper person as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 4:34. I'll say, you say. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya Ubadiksham tite jnanam jnaninas tatpadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is further recommended in the Mundaka Upanishad, Tadvigyanatam Sagurum Evabhigachet. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. C.C. Madhya 19:151. The material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure-seeking. They actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness. But not knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another, and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. When, by good fortune, one comes in contact with a pure devotee, and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. Okay, we're going to stop there, and I'll just speak on that for a second. Dark Operation Beta class, perfect. Okay. So this is very positive. The previous one was all about what to avoid. It was a little heavy duty. So once we've gone through that, and we're avoiding the things that block devotional service, then we can enthusiastically embrace this verse. So the first 3, Utsaha Nishaya Daryat, enthusiasm, confidence, and patience, pertain to the next line. In other words, Tattat Karma Pavartanat. Now Prabhupada, he defines those in terms of the substance of bhakti, which is activity in those 9 forms: hearing, chanting, remembering. But they also involve everything else, like getting up early, coming to the temple, studying. These are all activities in Krishna consciousness, and we need to be enthusiastic to do them. And confident that they will produce the result, and patient. We can't be impatient for the result. So all of these pertain to, this utsahana daya pertains to the second line. Tat karma means whatever is prescribed in terms of do's and don'ts, that we have to embrace, with full enthusiasm. And just like you think of someone training in the army or something, I mean, you can go through the motions, and kind of everything can be you can feel it's a task. And if you were in the old days, in the 60s, we had drafted. People got drafted in. They didn't want to be there, So everything was like a big chore, and we weren't into it. Now it's all voluntary army. So, okay, you supposedly want to be there, you want to succeed. So it's a different kind of mentality. But whatever we use to fire up our enthusiasm, it's important to be enthusiastic, because it's all a question of consciousness. If you're enthusiastic in the process, you'll get the result. Krishna will see that enthusiasm, and you'll find yourself relishing it more. It becomes less of a duty. It's a fact. Even if you do some very menial thing, I like to tell the story of the back in the days in Miami when I was there for 6 years working on the Bhagavatam. We had a whole crew. There was a BBT crew, 3 or 4 men, and who performed the service of washing the pots on Sunday night. That was our duty as the BBT. So, you just had a big feast, and you really don't want to do it, but it's our duty. So, okay, we're going to have short pants on. It's Miami, everything. And down we go to the kitchen. And it's a big job, these monster pots, But then we started kirtan, doing the pots, banging the pots a little bit, washing them. And we're all having a kirtan. And after a few minutes, we're having a kirtan. It doesn't matter that we're doing the pots, and that was... And then afterward, the pots are done, and you just had a big kirtan. It was all positive. That's how, you can you make progress in Krishna consciousness. So... we don't have time to go through the others right now. We have to prepare for Arti. But we'll continue with this verse tomorrow. And I don't know if you'll be able to make it. Again, work. Tomorrow? Okay, good. If you see Hina, ask her where she was. She was supposed to come on Tuesdays. Now Tuesday's gone. I'm going to text her. She was supposed to be here. Uh-oh. I didn't end the recording before I mentioned her name. Maybe I'll edit it out later on. Maybe you're out there.